Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. We will begin our program with an invocation led by Mark Lucas Kelly, Director of Community and Celebrant Services, Harper and Lucas Funeral Homes, followed by our national anthem played by Harriet Harrell, Principal with the Harrell Group. Mark, come on up.
Good afternoon. In humbleness by the invitation to deliver today's invocation, let us pray. In a broad and inclusive manner, together as faithful members of Rotary International, with our sisters, brothers, and colleagues we share this planet with, as we measure our actions by service above self, I pray we are guided in our service less by ego, fear, prejudice, and social expectations, and more by faith, hope, love, pragmatism, and wisdom. While keeping in mind the wisdom of humankind can be foolish, we pray the use of AI will guide us away from the folly of the past and into a brighter future. In closing, while tempted, I will not use this serious and precious invocation time to ask for petty requests such as football victories and the like, but I confess during some fourth quarter occurrences, not unlike last Saturday's most unfortunate TCU Central Florida tragedy, some of us may have found ourselves lacking in disciplined prayer. We beseech thee for understanding and forgiveness. Amen.
Thank you, Mark and Harriet. Now here to welcome our visitors is Jim Boas, Financial Advisor with LPL Financial.
Okay. Go Frogs. Last Saturday, wow. All right, so our guest today, Catherine Smith is guest of Shanna Saldana. Welcome. Aaron Phillips, guest of Shanna Saldana, did I pronounce that right? Saldana. Simeon Henderson, guest of Jason Byrne. Lauren Wessinger, guest of Michelle Krim. Laura Western, guest of Greg Carter. John Nichols, guest of President Rebecca Montgomery. Tamara Clement, guest of Ryan Barrera. Jenny Gleason, guest of Robert Gleason. Jennifer Connor, guest of Corey Harris. Visiting Rotarian from Flower Mound, Gerald Robinson. Bruce Stacy, it's blank, someone say everybody. Nancy Mitchell, guest of Rob Mitchell. Amy Howell, guest of Zoran Brudick. Can't read that. John Washington, guest of Roger Yandell. And I think that Janetta Washington, guest of Roger Yandell. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Jim. Now let's take a moment and thank our wonderful program sponsor, Creative Office Furniture. They've done a wonderful job updating our Rotary office. It was way overdue. And now, everyone, we have a special guest today. Today, Bruce Stacy, our Assistant District Governor, is joining us, and he has an announcement to share. But also, just to make you aware, Bruce received his red Rotary badge here at this club. Come on up, Bruce.
I feel like I'm home. I have an invitation that I'm going to extend from the district. How many people here have been to Cuba? Okay, a few of you have. How many of you have been on a Rotary trip to Cuba? There's a few. We have an upcoming trip that is going to go way beyond what we normally do in bringing humanitarian supplies into Havana. We're going into Santiago, Trinidad, Bay of Pigs, and back to Havana. So if any of you have an interest in going on a humanitarian trip to Cuba, it's like a land frozen in time in 1960. This is a real opportunity. We're going to be taking medical supplies in support of Caritas, the Catholic charity, and you will definitely see it from the inside. Cuba trip in total is $3,600 from January the 2nd through the 11th, and that's all inclusive for meals and lodging and everything. And we do have an abbreviated trip that will go in on the 8th and join us in Havana for $1,300. So if you think you would like to go, see me at the conclusion. I'll be sitting right over here. And again, a great opportunity for you as a Rotarian to see a communist country that really needs our help. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, so much. We have those dates. You can reach out to also Aurora or myself, and we can help you, but that's just such a great opportunity coming up in January of 2025. All right, everyone. Now it's time to recite our four-way test. Four-way test is our roadmap of business ethics, how we as Rotarians conduct our lives. Please join me in reciting the four-way test. You can see it on the screen. First, second, third, build good and better friendships, and fourth, beneficial. Great, everyone. Now, next up, as you are aware, each Friday we arrive here, we prepare our plates, we sit down, and we have a table. We may sit with some friends, we may be sitting with someone new. So today we're going to have what we refer to as table talk, the opportunity to get to know one another better, those sitting next to you at these tables. So everyone, please help me welcome our own Kathy Neese Brown, VP of Mission Support, Chief Strategy Officer with the James L. West Center, who will lead us in this discussion. Kathy.
So the real secret is that you all are going to lead yourselves in discussion. So we're going to focus on the four-way test, and we are going to focus on building goodwill and better friendships. And so among the room of give or take 100 Rotarians, we have cumulative years of service that number probably 1,500 or more. And so we would like for each table to talk about your tenure in Rotary. How long have you been a member of Rotary? And begin to build relationships with the people at your table with the goal of rotating tables each week if you can to meet more Rotarians. But the goal of today is to build goodwill and friendship among those at your table and to begin to strengthen the bonds of Rotary. So you get 5 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves.
have a good time. First, I want to say, Kathy, thank you. Kathy, thank you. Appreciate that. So did anyone learn something new? Just raise your hand if you learned something new about somebody. Awesome. Maybe about yourself? Okay, you do not have to share anything publicly. You can keep that to yourself, but great. I hope you enjoyed that. I think it's very interesting, the people that we have joining us, and sometimes we don't realize who's right next to us or across the table from us that we can learn from, and maybe even get to be better friends and do things in the future. Now it's time for a few announcements. As I say your name, would you please make your way up here? First, we're going to hear from Abby Dudek, Strategic Communications Manager with Tarrant County 911 District, who's going to share an upcoming volunteer opportunity come very soon. We will then hear from Key Bryant, Regional Director of Philanthropy with Idea Public Schools, with an update on our International Committee Supply Drive, who will then be followed by Elliot Goldman, CEO, GL2 Partner, with an update on our fall grant cycle. Abby, Key, and Elliot, please make your way.
All right, howdy Rotary family. So tomorrow is the big trash bash, so hopefully we'll see a lot of people out there. It'll be fantastic. And also, if you are interested in renting a kayak, since you guys will be down in that area, Teresa, she runs the Backwoods Paddle Sports trailer that's right there by the beach area in Panther Island. She will rent them out for half off if you're doing the Trinity trash bash. They will provide grabbers with a little floating device on it so that we don't, pollute the river with it. And then also they'll have onion sacks to put trash in so the water leaks appropriately out of the bags and stuff like that. So take her up on that. She's a good lady, and say hello to her. She does a lot in our community also. So tomorrow at the first blue stage platform next to the Harris Street Bridge at 7:30, there'll be coffee and breakfast tacos, and we'll hope to see you then.
I forgot my watch, so I'm going to have to say, I think it's a good afternoon, right? Okay. Key Bryant here on behalf of the Social Committee as a member and co-chair of the International Committee, inviting you out to our supply drive on October 1st at Hopin. So we're asking that you bring new unused items out to donate to the International, why can't I remember my phone? And my partner's not here to cue me up. It's okay, but we're gonna be taking donation of items rather than donation of money. That's always great, right? You could decide how much you want to spend, but come out, have a drink. It's a self-pour brewery, a new business that could definitely use your guys' support, and hang out with us on behalf of the International and the Social Committee. So please tell Ed I announced it, all right? Don't get me in trouble. Thank you, guys.
Got spiffy picture. Oh, we went with the pirouette today. I like the pirouette. I didn't know where they were going with it today. All right. So super excited. I just wanted to come up and remind everybody that we have 2 Rotary Endowment grant cycles, April 15th and October 15th. So, and we have approximately $40,000 in endowment funds and approximately $90,000 in children's funds to give away over the next 12 months. The maximum that you can request in a grant is currently $5,000, and please have them in on October 15th by 5 p.m. because at 5:01 p.m. we'll have to hold it till April. So please send them in, and we're excited to find wonderful projects to support in the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Abby, Key, and Elliot. Appreciate that. Everyone, you know what to do. There's a lot going on. Sign up, show up, click on the QR code, bring those supply drive items. It's time to participate. Now, we would not exist if not for all of you, our members. So please give a welcome to our Secretary, Christina Judge, Executive Director with the Mental Health Connection, for a first reading.
And I feel especially honored because I got to interview this lady. So we have one first reading today. The proposed member is Cindy Tonages. Title is Membership and Marketing Leader. Company is TriQuest Technologies. Classification, Internet Technology and Support. And our proposer is past President Campbell. If no written objections are received in the Rotary office by September 27th, this proposal will be given a second reading and voted on by the club. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Continuing this great work that you are all doing, and our membership committee, thank you, Corey Harris and Deanna Stewart. We have another blue badge today. Adrian Cantu, please come up to get your blue badge. Now, Adrian has completed 6 acts of service, and he's also one of our 2024 RMBA Rotary Minority Business Award winners. Thank you. Thank you. You got that? All right. Don't worry, JR is following us all very closely. Yeah. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our chairperson of the day, John Laudenslager, broker owner of Black Tie Realty, who will introduce today's awesome program.
Good afternoon. Susan Miller and Jessica Miller Essel, known in commercial real estate circles as the Miller Sisters, are co-founders and co-presidents of M2G Ventures, a Fort Worth-based commercial real estate private equity and development company. Since founding the company in 2014, they have guided M2G's growth by investing in innovative mixed-use and industrial projects across DFW and Central Texas. M2G currently manages $1.5 billion in assets and has been recognized among Fortune's best workplaces in real estate. Susan focuses on finance strategy and capital sourcing, while Jessica oversees business development, marketing, leasing, and strategy. They have spearheaded initiatives with major brands such as Tesla, Spanx, J.Crew, and Restoration Hardware, and are currently key players in the redevelopment of our beloved Fort Worth stockyards, where they are co-producing the next phase of development. Both women are very active in the community, serving on several advisory boards, including TCU's Neely School of Business and the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation, which supports mental health initiatives. Their leadership and impact have earned them numerous accolades, including the Fort Worth Business Press's Top 40 Under 40, and the Strong Partner Award from Girls Inc. of Tarrant County. Today, we're going to hear about their current capstone initiative, M2G Ventures in Mental Health, which reflects their deep commitment to supporting mental health causes in the Fort Worth community. We're going to learn a lot more about that today, and we'll have our own Connie Blake, president of Generational Designs, to serve as moderator for a conversation with Miller Sisters. Let's welcome the Miller Sisters.
Testing. Good.
Hello, hello. Works.
Well, welcome, ladies. We are so excited to have you here. Before we get into the mental health initiative, we'd like to learn more about how did you two get together and form your own real estate company?
I'll start. So we go by Miller Sisters, also Miller Girls, and I want to keep that title till I'm like 105. Barely still make it in the 40 under 40 category. But Susan and I are identical twins. We were born in Longview, Texas. Our parents are entrepreneurs, have their own real estate company, which really consisted of mom and dad kind of tag teaming value add properties really anywhere in really the southern United States of every type of real estate you can think of. And their only employees were their 5 children. So Susan and I are the youngest of 5.
Young children too.
Yeah, young children, but we had some important tasks. Susan and I are the youngest of 5. We have 3 older brothers. So we grew up around the kitchen table, really talking to our parents and them involving us in decision-making from a very young age. Being identical twins, and we're both pretty creative, so you end up, we created multiple businesses over our kind of 18 formidable years before we went to TCU. So always for us, we knew we were going to work together. It was just, when, not if. So we went to TCU, both graduated with a finance background or major, and worked at Trademark Property Company, starting as interns, and then stayed there right out of college. Our goal was, and I hope he's not in here because I don't know if I've said this, but our dad, we said, hey, we want to do real estate after college, and he said, yeah, you're not going to do that on my payroll, for sure. And we said, well, of course not. And he said, well, go out and find the biggest fish in the biggest pond you can and go learn from him off of his money. We said, perfect. Enter Terry Montesi, who's not in this room. So we both started working at Trademark Property Company. For people that don't know Terry's dad was an identical twin. And so the two of them had a chain of grocery stores together, wore the exact same suit to work every day, had desks facing each other. So he did not think it was odd to hire two people that looked the exact same and bring them into his office. So we started working there. I started as a land acquisition person. That was in 2007, and the market tanked shortly thereafter, and so there were no speculative land deals to be done. So quickly moved into leasing. Susan started on the finance track and started as an analyst there. She stayed there for about 8 years and worked her way up from analyst to director of finance to one of their developers. And then I left after about 4 years of doing super regional malls and lifestyle center leasing for Trademark to go to Open Realty Advisors in Dallas, where I did national account representation for major retailers, which were kind of named off, prior, and was fortunate enough to travel the country at a very young age and see a lot of really cool real estate. In probably October of 14, I got a call from Susan. I was in Boston. I remember I was walking on the street. She's like, all right, I'm quitting today. I'm like, are you sure you gotta do it today? I'm not even here. I am in a totally different place. Your moral support blanket is not there.
Much more responsible sounding than what it sounded like, to be clear.
It was not. I guarantee you. I'm like, are you sure you're gonna do it? So anyway, 2 hours go by, I get a call, all right, I quit, and I'm like, okay, man, it's bonus time. I got to wait around, I got at least 3 months. So anyway, she quit first and started, she did what any logical person would do, rented a, small co-working space and got a printer and set up an email and stared at her computer. No, I'm just kidding. But I made it about 3 months after Susan. Every morning we were talking about it, and then I left the company in February of 15 and joined her. And then we started, M2G Ventures about 10 years ago, shockingly. We've got a team now of about 31 people. We started really with Susan, myself, and an intern in a small, what was that place called? Collab? Yeah. We
Remember Collab off Carroll? Yeah.
And kind of the rest was history. We knew, we wanted to do real estate. We knew we loved Fort Worth. We saw a lot of opportunity here. We also saw a city where it seemed you could make an impact if you were willing to put the work in and kind of craft your own seat at the table. And so we did that starting in 2014 and have continued to raise our families here and love the city. So that's kind of how we started.
Amazing story, thank you. So tell us about the type of real estate you specialize in.
Yeah, I'll start, and then you can add in. So in the early days, we really gravitated towards adaptive reuse. As a lot of the times when Jessica would travel for these major brands, they weren't gravitated to the regional mall, they were gravitated to like the high street stuff that was 1 or 2 streets over that was much more organic. So we started really the business on adaptive reuse projects like the Foundry. Some of y'all may know that's where Hopin is. We don't own it anymore, but really took the approach of making art our anchor in those projects. Back then, which again, this was 10 years ago, it was interesting. There was not near as much large scale, mural street art that's in a much more elevated expression in Fort Worth, which was interesting for a city of our size, but we saw it and everywhere else, and decided to infuse art into everything we do. And ultimately, that influenced our development style for probably in the early days, 5 or 6 years. Then we decided that we were going to add on an industrial arm of our business, specifically. Jessica and I, sat down for our, strategy sessions and just said, we're going to be in real estate for the next 50 years. What else should we be focused on? And so in 2018, decided to add in industrial to our business. We still try to infuse some of our principles that we use on the mixed use side into industrial to give us a little bit of a competitive advantage or a unique position within the market, which is fun. But we've always been gravitated to, ever since we were little, just making something better than what it is currently. Like it's hard for us to not try to iterate on something. And sometimes it's harder for us if we took a blank piece of dirt and built on it. And so we really have gravitated to that. And over time, that's kind of informed our investment themes.
And you've done an excellent job at it. Where can
Thank
we
you.
see some of these? We know that you did the Foundry District. Where are some other places in Fort Worth?
We did the Foundry District, which was, if you haven't been there, it's a collection of about 14 mid-century warehouses. We converted into brewery space, a distillery, Inspiration Alley, which is a collection of about 70, including Inspiration Alley, about 70 curated pieces of outdoor public art. We did Proof, which is over off of Vickery. That's TX Whiskey's former, before they had their beautiful campus, that was their former headquarters. And that was a 1940s adaptive reuse project that we turned into an entertainment venue and headquarter office space for a couple people. We did over off, this is an early deal, but we did over off Magnolia, the Dream on Dreamer mural, where you see the mural with the lady, and she's got kind of really cool hair, and we had a community project there where we had people come write their dreams on the side of the building. Our very first project was over off Camp Bowie. Everyone knew it at the time at, what they call it, was the Crossing? That was before that. I can't remember. But anyway, we've all since bought and sold these. We also did North Quarter 35, which is up in the Alliance Corridor. That's a 645,000 square foot Class A industrial building. We've got a bunch of stuff in Dallas. And then kind of most notably, and probably our legacy project that we've been able to work on since about 8 years ago has been the redevelopment of the Fort Worth Stockyards. And so that's probably the one that you kind of wake up at night thinking about all the time, and we will continue to do that. It's a project that's never finished, and one we've been working on since about 2016.
Yes, they did an incredible job of curating those shops. If you haven't been to Mule Alley, it's phenomenal, and it's ongoing. And I think a separate program will be the phase 2 of Fort Worth Stockyards in concert with Majestic Realty. So we'll have them back for that for sure. So tell us, we're going to switch gears here and talk about mental health. Tell us about the important strides you've made in the mental health space.
I'll start, yeah. Well, I guess a couple of things. Just at a very high level, Jessica and I, and we'll see, we get into our story later, but when we were confronted with what, say 5 or 6 years ago, really 6 years ago, what was available to somebody that was dealing with an extreme mental health issue, it became abundantly clear to us that we were so behind. I mean, it was beyond unacceptable. And we, at the time, were able to see what the best of the best there was to offer. And so we're entrepreneurs by nature. And so Jessica and I decided then that we were going to try to make meaningful strides in the mental health space. And so ultimately, we started interviewing nonprofits, researchers, doctors all around the world, and trying to understand who's making the biggest impact in the mental health space. And again, this is back in 2017. And ultimately, we were lucky. We were introduced to Dr. Madhukar Trivedi, who is an amazing doctor. He's actually a psychiatrist by trade, which is interesting. And we decided to raise $1 million towards the UT Southwestern Center for Depression Research and Clinical Care here in Fort Worth. And that was a very big mission for us, one that candidly, when they asked us how much we were going to donate, which again, of course, Jessica and I are a part of the donations, but it really has been a community project in terms of how it's been fundraised. I thought we were going to agree to 300,000, and Jessica just said $1 million out loud, and so I just had to say, like, but we ultimately did it. It took us 5 years. So last year we surpassed our $1 million goal, truly from mostly individuals and companies that we work with, which has been so awesome. And today we're technically a 501c3. So we are very involved in UT Southwestern, but also around other critical causes that are really helping inform the best treatments and ultimate better outcomes for people with any type of mental illness.
We really, just to add a couple things, when we set out to do this, we really wanted to focus on two things. One was mental health awareness, talking about it. This was also, pre-COVID. It's become a lot more common now to ask people how they're doing, to check in on people. COVID, I think, really accelerated the conversation. But also to put intentional dollars behind mental illness research, not only from a indication standpoint, but also prevention and then a treatment standpoint. We are really trying to attack it from all angles. And once we kind of started getting into that space, we realized just how hard it is to fund research that's longitudinal. Because most people that, especially if you're a large scale institution, you're really wanting something that's an immediate, what did you do this year, next year, whatever. And as we all know that improving this space is going to be a lifelong mission. And for us, it is going to take a long time. With the $1 million and bringing the CDRC here, we have been able to increase the funding to the largest longitudinal study of its kind that we're aware of in the world. And so having Tarrant County be able to participate that, in one, is just a benefit for our city, but two, for us all to be able to sit at the table and say, we're looking at this space from a holistic angle, and we're not going to stop until it's done. And that's going to require both longitudinal studies and kind of on the front end studies. So.
Well, that's amazing, $1 million so far, and they have a presence here in Fort Worth, making strides. So what are your next steps? I think you have a fundraiser coming up.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things. So we really, as Jessica said, focus on really awareness and advocacy. In November, on November 7th, we technically have our Art of the Mind event, which is our fundraising event. It's at Tana Hills this year, and it is basically an art auction. We have the artist that has worked with us for years on curating all of our large-scale public art. She curates with some really amazing artists, some that are like in the modern, et cetera, and local to here on some museum quality art. So we do an art auction, and then Leanne Womack is playing this year, which is, we're really excited about that. And so ultimately the funds from that initiative or that event will go towards the initiative. We're really excited about it. As I said, we've already raised our $1 million goal, but just for that, fundraising for that event specifically, we've already raised $250,000 this year. And so we're starting to see, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this room or owners in this room. The first year's really hard, the second year's really hard, then third year's harder. But every once in a while you're like, man, this is slightly, we're getting a little bit of grease. So we're seeing some traction, which is just really rewarding because ultimately just every single dollar that we raise, it just makes that much more of a difference. So that's one event. It's super awesome. Jessica and I are also very big mental health nerds. Like, we want to talk about it, we want to share about it, and we originally had that as a part of our event. We now have given it its own space. So we have a community event that we partner with the Modern on, and we also partnered with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation called Muse at the Modern. It was done in the spring last year, and it'll be done in the spring this year. And it is a event where last year we had Dr. Madhukar Trivedi, who I've already told you guys about, and then Dr. Amy Cruz, who is the CIO for Satori Neuro, Satori is a private equity company that's here, and Satori Neuro is actually one of their investment vehicles that they have decided, for profit, that they have decided to target really companies and businesses that are focused on how to improve the brain, whatever it is.
And a lot of alternative medicines as well, and alternative therapies. So really trying to see what's out there and really put funds into places that may not be, getting picked up by, some of the big, large scale institutions yet.
So we had at that event, it wasn't a debate, but it kind of turned into a debate, which was awesome. And so we had a community event of about 100 people, and it's really a space where you can go, and it's obviously in a lovely setting, and share kind of conversations around mental health, and also hear from some of the top doctors in the world. So those are two events that we will do every year.
Our goal, just to add on, so we've raised $250,000 to date this year, and our goal is to get to 600 by the end of this year. So that'll put us at 1.25, and then by the end of this year, try to get to 1.6. But for us, it's a lifelong mission. And I think where you're going to see us going is continuing in those two places, really on the research and advocacy side, and then also on the awareness side. But, there's a lot to do in this space. So far, we've really touched UT Southwestern and the CDRC. We've touched some awareness and research, but, there's strides that need to be made in clinical care. We were talking earlier with Christina Judge about something that she's doing with Mental Health Connection, but it really is going to require everyone or anyone that can to participate in order to make strides in this space, because it needs it. It's got to be innovated and really looked at from all angles.
Yeah, and the way we look at, our initiative's role now is more around continuing to push and support those initiatives that are really pushing the envelope. And so, Jessica and I and our team, we've got several team members here. Katie Wary, who's our executive director as well, that's for the initiative itself, that we're constantly trying to learn about what is happening out in our community, what is happening abroad, that we can make sure that we are funneling the dollars to the right places.
Well, that's an amazing accomplishment. So that leads to the next question. How can we as Rotarians get involved, get plugged into this? Because let's be honest. Most everybody in this room has either a friend or a family member or someone they know that has been touched with mental illness.
It's been interesting since we've started the initiative and have had just really candid, normal conversations about mental health and mental illness. I mean, Jessica and I are in interviews with people, and they bring it up. My mom suffered from whatever. I see people on the street, so it is, when you say that everybody, still working, hello? Yeah, okay. When you say that, everybody has connections somehow, it's really true. And so, how can y'all get involved? Ultimately, a couple of things. One, we'll make sure everybody here gets an invite to our event on November 7th if you'd like to come.
There's info on the table too about our initiative if you want to learn more.
As well as the event in the spring. And then there's information in the pamphlet there on our website where you can obviously donate. And then, of course, if you are convicted on the initiative and want to be involved further, we do have a board. And ultimately, like I said, this has been a community project. So if you want to get involved in a more volunteer way or specific way, please come find us. Our team is right there in the middle.
And I would just add, if this is something that you're passionate about, I mean, none of us have the benefit of being complacent, because it has so much that needs to happen in that space. And so if it is something that you're passionate about, or someone that's struggling, take it as, part of your own kind of promise to actually try and do something about it and get people where they need to be, but also to not accept the current situation that we're in. I think that's the hardest part for people, is realizing that they can make a difference, but it doesn't feel like you can in the beginning because it is such a faceless disease right now. But really trying to put energy behind it, I think, is the biggest thing, and talking about it and making it aware that people don't have to fight alone, which is, awful to see.
Jessica, talk about real quick, there was some pretty, when we started with Dr. Trivedi versus now, some of the bold statements that he would say about where we were 5 or 6 years ago in terms of treating mental illness and where we are today. Jessica mentioned, obviously COVID fast forwarded a lot in terms of it being top of mind, and how any of these initiatives ultimately get funded, and whether it's for breast cancer or whatever it is, it's enough people say we want something better, and because of the acceleration of conversation around mental health, it's starting to get more funding, which is ultimately fast tracking some of the initiative, but yeah, what she's referencing is when we met him, this was in 2017, I asked him, a couple really hard questions. I said, how long is this going to take to make a real impact? Like, when are we going to start being able to see a difference? And he said, it's probably going to take 12 to 14 years. And I said, where does that come from? And he said, it's the same thing that happened for breast cancer and heart disease. It took, 10 to 15 years for people to start realizing it was a major issue. And then it's taken almost 40 years for us to get to where we are today. So think of us, so we're on year, 7. So we've got, I keep reminding him, so you got like 5 years left. So I'm going to ask you again, what's the big difference we made? But think of that as the space that we're in. We've got 40 years until we're really to the point that research will have been able to catch up, and you'll start seeing it in clinical care and prevention, et cetera. So, but, our vision, and we won't stop until we get there, which I don't think is going to be in 40 years. I think it's going to be longer than that, but is a place in which that you will be able to figure out if someone is susceptible or on the verge of possibly having either a major mental break or being predisposed to having a mental illness. We can get those people prevention early. They don't have to go into a major mental illness event, because when that happens, it is so much harder for them to come back. And then ultimately that there is a unique test that person can take in order to match them with medications and therapies, so they don't have to go on the hamster wheel that you see today. So until that happens, we'll continue to be doing stuff like this and raising funds and bringing the right people into the space in order to kind of advance that initiative.
So interesting, and thank you for the work you've done. Are there any questions?
He is a South Lake resident, just so you guys know. He does not live in Dallas.
John.
Any other questions?
I would say, just telling our personal story, I think that, and to Connie's point at the beginning, every single person we would talk to, even if I was asking them for $1, before I even could ask them for $1, they'd say, and my mom, my brother, my sister, my uncle, whatever. They all had a personal connection to it. And so I think the biggest thing that we did early on was open the lines of communication, that this was a shared challenge we had to fight together, and figuring out that for each person was different. But we were super vulnerable and just said, look, we're struggling with this. And do you find it unacceptable? We find it unacceptable. Let's do something together. That was the biggest thing. And then I would just say, to echo Susan's thought, the first 2 years were much more, bet on the jockey, not the horse. Do you trust us? Do you see us making strides in our community? We're pretty serious, intense people when we go after a goal. I think that was one of the biggest things. But once we got that momentum and we started showing people what's happening, we did the grand opening for the CDRC January of 2020, which was kind of poor timing because of COVID. But stuff like that, let's show people the progress and get into the community. We also did a short film in the very beginning that was which we almost gloss over because we've done so much in this space, but that was about, it was a combination project between Red Productions and Rambo, who's a great photographer here locally, and then us. We produced a short film on what it was like to struggle with various types of mental illness. And my heart's kind of racing even talking about it because it was very dark. But the very first event that we did, we had about 100-ish people. Now our events have, on the fundraising side, 300 to 400, was literally a seated dinner in a dark room with they call them a psych wall. There are these walls that go all the way up and then go to the ground, and we had everyone watch it, and people left that room and said, man, this is intense. And we said, yeah, it is. So we didn't shy away from
the really hard part and the hard truth of it is it starts with a personal story, find that connection with people, and then we really anchored into, like, if you find what you saw unacceptable, imagine living with it. And then we continued from there, so.
Well, and I would say mechanically, the other thing that I think was very helpful in the early days is that, and again, we were agnostic to who was doing, making really great strides in the space. They could have been in Holland and we would have done it. But at the time, partnering with UT Southwestern, and at the time, we did not have a 501c3, so I'm talking to you. You're not sending money to M2G, MHI, you're sending it directly to UT Southwestern. And so, again, this was a new initiative. Jessica and I were obviously in the community, but being able to partner with a type of institution like that.
Trusted source,
People trusted that. And then the other thing is most initiatives, when you're giving, there's, a part that's administrative, et cetera. In the early days, it was like, you give $1, it goes, we're literally just, we're
Sing through.
you're just literally passing through. And so that really helped in the early days on fundraising.
I'd add one more thing. We're entrepreneurs, so we have shiny penny syndrome, like I'm sure any of you who's an entrepreneur in this room has. For this particular thing, we stayed laser focused on awareness and then research funding. There were so many things that were great programming elements that we could have thought about, we could make a difference in this space and a difference in that space. And for some reason for this, we were able to really funnel our attention on those things and stay hyper focused on it. And I think that really helped us. I should learn from that in our other business, but it really did help us get further quicker because we literally said, you're a great partner in this, you do that. I'm focused on literally raising funds for this and raising awareness and advocacy. And outside of that, team, put your blinders on because we've got so far to go. And I think that made a big difference for us to get faster, get elevated faster in terms of the fundraising.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your purposeful work in this community. And Rebecca, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I agree.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, there.
Ladies, thank you so much. Susan, Jessica, and Connie, thank y'all for bringing this. And also thank you for bringing mental awareness to the surface and continuing to do so. I'm listening over here. Okay. We appreciate it. We look forward to an update. And I do agree, which was stated a few times, it impacts every single one of us in here. So thank you for what you're doing and how we can help. We look forward to that. Also, for your time, we know you're busy. Women, obviously, that's an understatement. We want to thank you and acknowledge your time here today. I'll let y'all correct that.
We love gifts.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, you're good.
Had to get it right, which one?
Perfect.
But that's just a token, to show our appreciation, we've made a donation in your name to the Rotary Polio Plus Foundation.
Thank you.
So we appreciate y'all so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Connie, for bringing us.
Yes.
Wow, it's really interesting, many of the programs we have here. And I know we'll be sharing this for some time. We just have a few closing announcements. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Creative Office Furniture, and to our past Rotarian, Gordon Boswell, who always provides us with a beautiful floral here every Friday, Gordon Boswell Flowers. Reminder, we have some opportunities on the horizon. The District Gala, November the 9th. See Aurora, our Trash Bash, and our International Committee Supply Drive is going, as well as the awesome trip. Thank you for sharing this with us, Assistant District Governor, to Havana, Cuba. There's something for everyone. Please register. Next week, you do not want to miss Mike Sweet, President of Ben E. Keith Foods. Thank you for choosing to join us today. Everyone have a great weekend. We are adjourned.